All right, so the first thing that strikes me is whenever you name a company Geomagic, you're clearly creating something very new, right? Because magic in its name is like, well, I got to wave my arms a lot and distract you from what's really going on. How did you get from arriving from China to getting to the University of Illinois and then to Geomagic? Like, what was that like? How did you get there?
Well, before I started Geomagic, I was working at National Center for Supercomputing Applications at University of Illinois. That's in Champaign-Urbana. And I happened to hire a student. His name is Marc Andreeson. And
Just pause there for a second. Marc Andreeson.
Yes.
Oh, that Marc Andreeson.
That Marc Andreeson. So we wrote a browser called Mosaic, and that became Netscape, Internet Explorer. So
you say that like it was like, yeah, I woke up one morning and, invented the internet, and then I decided that wasn't big enough.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. That wasn't big enough, and Netscape went public, and university went crazy, and they go like, Ping, what's the next killer app? Or like, they go like, well, everything you touch turned into gold. I'm like, gold, where?
No pressure.
So I went out and tried to see what can I do to start a company, and that was the internet high. Everybody start .com company. Song says, well, .in.com. Jack Welch says, destroyyourself.com. I was like, I am not destroying myself. So I went out and I met this gentleman. His name is Chuck Hall. He is the founder of 3D Systems. In fact, he is the original inventor of 3D printing. He printed the very first 3D parts 30 years ago, exact 30 years ago. Now, put it in perspective, Macintosh did not exist at that time.
Yeah, no kidding. And so I actually remember when the Macintosh didn't exist. So that's good. So you see this 3D printing, and what goes through your mind? Like, yeah, tomorrow we'll have 3D everything. Like, how did you attack that market, and what gave you the chutzpah? I think we heard that word earlier.
Right, chutzpah, yeah.
To go after something.
I got a really good one. I was like, oh my God, this is personal fabrication. I said, well, personal.
Wait. You said, oh my God, this is personal fabrication. Like,
yeah.
You just leapt right to that.
Yeah, that's. Well, my initial is PF.
Oh, I see.
Personal fabrication, right? And like a PC. I said, well, personal fabrication is more intuitive to have it at home than personal computer, because we can make Christmas ornaments.
Well, yeah. That would have been the first application I would have gone after too. So one of the things that happened along the way that I found fascinating in the process was Geomagic actually sat in the middle of, so not only did you see the 3D printing market, but there was actually a whole other market about scanning, 3D scanning of stuff, and then you built a software company in the middle. So it was like an undeveloped market plus an undeveloped market plus a crazy undeveloped market, and
right.
You built them all.
Right.
Oh, that's good. So
well,
how did that happen?
Yeah, you kind of, like when you start a company, you're going to try to think who you want to be, and I wanted to build to last, and I saw a few hundred little 3D scanning company, and then there was a few 3D printing company. There was no software. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be Adobe 3D. I'm going to be software for 3D appliances. So I went to raise money. I said, imagine you have a microwave oven with a turntable in the middle. You put an object in the middle. You push a button. It scans it. You dial the number. It sends somewhere else. And they have the same machine. They push a button. It prints it out. So you have a 3D fax machine. I made it up. And then I said, Geomagic will make the idea to be reality.
Okay, so who still thinks that's magic?
Well, that was in 1997, and I had people in audience literally came up and wrote check for me, and this one guy from Chicago gave me $100,000 and said, I want to invest in your company. I said, no, you can't do that. You have to talk to a lawyer. And he says, Ping, I am an attorney.
It was good. So pro bono counsel plus a $100,000 check.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing to play out. So people start throwing money at you. But that technology for bringing all that together, we look at it now like it's an overnight success, but as you pointed out, it's 30 years ago. So what was the journey like from that moment in time in 97 to now where, we look at this massive curve of adoption of this sort of 3D printing? What happened in there, and what were some of the challenges you faced?
Yeah, so it's interesting. The industry has been kind of stagnant and small, like an early industry for a long, long time. So I started in 97, and I started to help this startup company called Align Technology. So Align Technology didn't exist when I said, walking to your orthodontics office, watching your daughter's teeth animate for the next 2 years. 2 years later, they started, and I helped them to automate their software. They image your teeth, they scan your teeth, and we create a digital model. We cut your teeth apart, automatically move them into beautiful smile, and they get 3D printed as a mold, and you press the aligner on it. Now, the interesting thing is today, Invisalign makes 70 million individual aligners every year in a manufacturing site smaller than this auditorium. This is the future of manufacturing.
That's unbelievable. You had me all the way through where you broke apart the teeth and then they started to hurt. You just mean in the software we broke
in the
teeth
software,
apart, right?
Exactly.
Okay, that feels better. So 70 million individual, and they're all printed. And they all leverage the software that you helped to invent.
Right. And there's no human intervention, just whole row of machines.
So the robots are taking over.
Robots are taking over, yes.
That's good. Well, you heard it here first, and you might as well just roll it up now. All right, so now fast forward here. We're over the last few years, and you've got MakerBot, and you've got the Maker movement, and you've got all these people that are basically jumping on the bandwagon that you started 15 years ago. And I assume that's good, right? Because now there's more people who are enthusiastic about this. Let's look out to the future a little bit, right? So I can only imagine what you thought 15 years ago. Now, what are you going to think? Where are we going to be in 15 years? What's the next big move around this sort of 3D printing movement and the vision that you have as you look out?
So 3D printing really is an enabler. And if you look at how computer progressed with data, 80s, we have PCs, run fast, we're processing data. Then laser got cheaper, we have networking, we share data. And now we all talk about big data. We want to use the data to create things that we can use. So today, the atoms is the new bits. So I spent years in digital arena. Now I'm actually always make the real things, the tangible things. So in the future, the design and manufacturing will be reversed. Namely, design will be globally sourced, whereas manufacturing will be hyper-local. So it's a greener, it's more personalized, and you create job locally. Moreover, the advanced manufacturing is a job multiplier. For each manufacturing job we create 14 other jobs.
Wow, so you think that this whole movement of manufacturing sort of away now starts to bring it all back because it's actually the design that's globally distributed.
Yeah.
That's a big idea. So that's going to be game changing. All right, so I want to come back to your own kind of entrepreneurial piece. So when we were speaking earlier, you talked about the fact that you kind of went through all the phases as a startup, right? And some of them lasted longer, and you probably had a near-death experience in there. But what's going on in this market right now is unbelievable. So how do you hang on in a hyper-growth situation where it's not only your company that's growing, but the whole market's moving in that direction? What are some of the tips for people in the audience that might be lucky enough to ride that kind of a wave?
Right. So when I ran Geomagic, it was a good company, small, growing. And I sold the company to 3D Systems early this year. And this is the very first time I experienced a hyper-growth company that is a public company growing at more than 50% per year since 2008. When people said flat is new growth, we actually have exponential growth. And what's interesting there is that the speed of the development is so fast. For example, 80% of our product that we offer today, this is hardware and software solutions, everything, does not exist 3 years ago, even though the company existed for 28 years.
Wow, so just the fact that you're now into this market, you're actually just going to accelerate, just keep accelerating with the vision that you had a long time ago.
Well, there's other part which is also interesting. That is because this technology requires so many different technology. 3D Systems bought 40 different companies in the last 5 years. So I have a job to actually help to consolidate and create strategy for a company with that many companies. The startup company in there changed the DNA of this company because everybody in there is an entrepreneur. So my job is to keep all the entrepreneurs in the company happy and not leaving. So I created this new business model. Instead of calling integration and consolidation, I call it Mosaic of Unique Greatness. I started Mosaic a long time ago.
So you brought it back again.
Exactly.
So you're having fun having been acquired by a larger company, which is there's trepidation around that, and it sounds like you're having a blast. And if you haven't figured it out already, Ping is actually wearing a 3D printed scarf that she printed backstage, actually, while we were waiting. Okay, that part's not true. But it's really impressive, very durable, and it's super cool.
Yeah, it's one piece, and it's a chainmail. There's no assembly, so it just... The thing interesting with 3D printing, of course, it's complexity-free. No matter how complex the design is, the print is the same.
It's unbelievable. You totally blew my mind. Ladies and gentlemen, give Ping an applause here. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. Unbelievable.